Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to another segment of the back five. Actually, it's the back four. We're one man down. Yeah, some power problems with one of our members, but we're going to go hard. We're going to go fast on this one. Cram this one inside an hour, but there's a lot to go through on this latest segment of the back five podcast. So before we get into this one, I do have to say my hellos to the members on this collaboration. Cozy, how are you, brother?
Is he frozen?
I'm good.
there.
I'm good. I'm happy to be back again. Yep.
Nice one. Nice one. Nice, short, and sweet.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm happy. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be back I'm happy to be back when we've won because I didn't want us to do this when I really hate doing this when we don't win. But a healthy victory, 4-0, clean sheets. Yeah. Away record. Yeah, intact.
Nice one. Nice one. Nice one. Well said. Brother Vincey's in transit. Brother.
Yes, my man. Yes. Couldn't miss the show, man. I had to be here with the family. Always good to be back here. Win, lose, or draw. Open heart surgery in Arsenal. That's what it's about. So it's all good. It's all
Open
good.
heart surgery.
Man.
Always good. It's always good,
Absolutely,
man.
Yeah. Glenn win, man.
I'm glad to scrubs for you, Anthony, of the open heart surgery.
I like it. I like it good. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. I'm good. Thanks, Alex. I'm good to be back. I'm good. I'm excited for this. So yeah, I'm good, man.
Good. And last but not least, the brother who had to go rush and change his top. Apollo,
Yeah,
what's
man.
happening, brother?
You know me, I gotta represent the Islington, man. I gotta represent them boys. Yeah, what's going on, everybody, man? Good shout out to everybody.
Everyone is good. We had some technical problems with the usual platform that I use. So for those who are watching on 101, we're not able to stream directly to your platform over there. But let's start this segment over here. And the last few segments have been relatively, serene. We've been all kind of on board. Apollo's happy, smiling, and everything else there. But let's kind of switch it up a little bit. All right. So Cozy did a video last week in regards to our manager. And for me, personally, in my opinion, he ticked all the boxes on this one. So have a look at this little segment of what Cozy is talking about. And then we'll kind of get into the nuts and bones of what I want to talk about. Have a look at this.
Really didn't understand that. And that's the point, and that's the whole point of this video. Is Mikel Arteta capable of competing with the two gaffers on top? Is he capable of competing with Jurgen Klopp now that Klopp has the resources? And is he capable of competing with Pep Guardiola? Because we know Pep Guardiola is a tactical mastermind. He will always switch it up. He'll always turn things around, and he already has the backing, right? He already has the backing from from the club. I don't think Mikel Arteta has got the character, has got the right mentality as a young manager to compete. I just don't say it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not Arteta. I don't think we would get a much better manager. I really don't think so. Unless if you're going to bring in Zidane. I don't think there's so many I don't think there's so many much better managers than Mikel Arteta. But he's going to keep us in that equilibrium state. You go to the Champions League like almost on a season basis. You go to the Champions League on every season basis, but you don't win the Premier League. You don't win the Champions League, but you could win the FA Cup and you could win the Carabao Cup. That is what Arsene Wenger did. He won almost 7 or 8 FA Cups. That's what Arsene Wenger was doing. So in Mikel Arteta, what we want and what Arsenal thought they had achieved is a young manager you build around in order for him to go ahead and win. Right? You go and win the Premier League, you go and win the Champions League. I don't think that's Mikel Arteta. I don't think, because for a manager to do that, you've got to drop all your arrogance. You've got to drop all your, personal barriers, attitudes, feelings. You've got to detach. I don't think he is detached. I think he's so much attached as a manager. Spending 75 million on Kai Havertz and spending 30 million on David Raya, that is 100 million. That gets you a top striker, and that puts us in a very different situation. I don't think it's a wrong decision to go for those two players. I just think David Raya, good player. I don't think we really desperately needed a goalkeeper for that amount, especially if he's coming in on loan. And then I don't think Arsenal really needed an expensive Kai Havertz. I don't think so. I really just don't think so. So for me, Mikel is going to become a sweet David Moyes. So what David Moyes ended up becoming at Everton was a manager that could challenge for the top four, couldn't win the top four, but could challenge for the top four always. He was always there, right? He was always fighting, was always, trying to push. I think it's going to become a high-class David Moyes. A high-class David Moyes in the sense that he always qualifies for the top four, but he doesn't win it. It doesn't win the Premier League. He always tries to put in a threat for the Champions League, the Premier League, but he doesn't win it. That is what he's going to become, because he must have that ruthlessness. And we've talked about ruthlessness, but I don't think he's ruthless as a manager. I don't think he's ruthless to himself. He's ruthless to players, but I don't think he's ruthless to himself. If you're a person who is ruthless to yourself, you've got to understand, I like Eddie, but Balogun is better. So therefore, I made a mistake giving Eddie 100,000 a contract per week. I've got to let him go. I've got to find a much better player. And that player is Florian Balogun. I thought, and I still think, Florian Balogun is going to be the profile. The profile from Florian Balogun is what Arsenal are going to sign in the phase 5 in the next summer. That's the same kind of player. So for me, I'm really worried about Mikel. I'm really worried. I don't think he will get sacked because he's going to keep on getting these consistent good results. Like this season, Arsenal could get to 90 points or 88. And next season, Arsenal could get to 91 or 93. But that doesn't win you the league, and that doesn't beat Liverpool, and that doesn't beat Manchester City.
Right. So that was a little segment from Cozy he did last week. And if you probably were listening, Cozy said that he's not Arteta out. He's not Arteta out. He's articulated in a way far better than I could have spoken about my concerns about our manager. Now, I haven't done that. I did ask Cozy if it's okay to use that segment there. Cozy, do you want to follow on from that before I ask the guys for their thoughts and their opinions on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, I'm not Arteta out, and I don't think he's a bad manager in any case, in any shape. I just think that those little traits of him, sticking to those arrogant decisions, are going to make him not the Pep Guardiola we want him to become, and not the Klopp we want him to become. I don't think he's going to become like a great manager. I just don't see him become a great manager. And I didn't do that video while I was there. I was very, very calm. I had planned to do it when when the summer was over, and I just didn't do it. I don't know why I didn't do it. So after that, after the decisions I saw against Tottenham, I was like, I might just drop this video at this point in time. So the boys can react to it, and I want to get their thoughts. I really do.
I thought it was a really good video, personally. Apollo, I know you are a staunch Mikel Arteta supporter. You're on board with the process, whatever that is. Your thoughts about the video segment there?
I don't agree with any of it. I love Cozy.
Okay,
I think he's raised some good points, but I think that there are bona fide reasons why a lot of these things are happening. So it's hard to tackle them because there's a lot of things that Cozy's brought up. so it's difficult to tackle it. But I'll try number one. This is Arteta's 4th year in his job, and a lot of the people that we talk about Klopp, we talk about all these different things. Pep, these guys walked into very, very good teams, very some of them successful teams. Like you mentioned Zidane. Zidane walked into a team that had won 6 titles in the last decade. A lot of the managers like Eddie Howe, as young as he is, has been a manager for 16 years. That's 4 times as long as Arteta. We talk about Unai Emery. He's been a manager for 17 years. David Moyes has been a manager since 1998. And what has he actually won? Now, in terms of Arteta's defense, he, unlike Zidane and all these, Pep Guardiola and Klopp and all these guys who were really, really, they're the upper echelon of managers, Arteta took over an Arsenal team in turmoil. They were in 14th place in the Premier League. They were having their worst ever. The stadium was half empty. I've been a season ticket holder for nearly 20 years, and I've never seen Arsenal in a state as it was when he took over. So first of all, the plan, as Alex said, what was the process? The process was to, within the first 2 years, get rid of all the dead wood, all the players that wasn't going to be a part of the success of this team, while at the same time bring and groom a lot of young talent. In the 3rd year, we'll go out and we'll get experienced players to complement that, and we'll get into the top 4. That was the plan. That's the process. So far, guys, this team is hitting all of those strides. The reason why he got a contract extension and the reason why the owners have backed him with over 200 million is because Edu, and we're not talking about just Arteta now. We've got to put in with Edu. It's both of them. Both of them are new in these roles. Yeah, in terms of like the young team, Edu and Arteta are a tandem, and both of them are growing into this role. So they have set out what they've wanted to do. Last year, they turned around to the owners and said, we've done exactly what we told you we would do. We've got this team back into competitive football in the Champions League when you was in your worst ever deficit in decades. And so the owners were like, yep, you did. And year 4 and year 5 was to challenge for the title, challenge for the Champions League. And we know this because Liverpool did that with Klopp. Klopp did the same thing. Klopp got them from 8th place in 4 years, won them Champions League. In his 5th year, won them a league title. But Klopp is at the upper echelon of managers. He's in the top 3 in world football. Yeah. Arteta took a scrubs team, one of the worst Arsenal teams that I've seen. And he's got us into a position that we are today. So I think that a lot of these things are predicated on the work that he needed to do as a very inexperienced, never done the job before in his life. Never done the job before in his life. And he was able to do that, grow in his role, bring young players through, and attract quality players like Jesus, Shinchenko, Declan Rice, Gabriel. Yeah, he attracted all of that talent. Thomas Partey. Yeah, all these players came to because of him. And when you speak to those players and say, what made you come to Arsenal? What's the first thing they say? Mikel Arteta. But I also want to talk about the other thing as well, which is and look, love Cozzy. I think he's got some great points, and I think he's got some points that a lot of fans are concerned about. But for me, there are intangibles there at play, and so we have to take these things into consideration. We cannot expect someone who's never managed before in his life to all of a sudden give you what Zidane does with a team like what Arsenal had. So this brings me on to the biggest concern, which concerns quite a lot of fans actually. It's his attitude. Now, I've been a manager in business for over a decade. I run a business with it's actually it's the 3rd biggest supplier in Europe, which is a company that I work for. And as a manager, let me just say one thing. I've never got anywhere with being nice. It just doesn't happen. If you let people walk all over you, you'll never get anything done. And what Mikel Arteta's done, and all of you lot have seen this on the Amazon Prime show, He asks for simple things, structure. He asks for commitment. He asks for punctuality. It's not that hard. But what happens is every single person that you've seen who's been in trouble, you know, we talk about Guendouzi, we talk about Aubameyang, we talk about Ozil. Some of these players I absolutely love. Yeah, none of them were adhered to all the rest of the guys was, but these guys were problems. And how we dealt with them was fantastic. How we dealt with them is how some of these new managers have to look at this and say, you know what? In order for us to get where we need to get to, we have to stamp our authority on the team, and we have to give the team values and principles. Because if you don't have that, you've got nothing. Arteta alone, not Edu, I can take Edu out of this. Arteta has changed the culture of this team. It is absolutely, I've never, ever, ever, ever heard the stadium as noisy as it is. And that's a tune to Arteta. I've never seen a manager commit a captain like Odegaard since Arteta. Arteta was the last greatest captain that we had at the club. He defied and stood up to Wenger. And when Wenger had no tactics and would go into places like Anfield and the Etihad, all guns blazing with no defense, it was Arteta that stopped that. He called the players' meeting. We know this because Per Mertesacker said it. Theo Walcott said it. He called player meetings and he said, guys, we ain't doing that. We're going in there with some structure. We're going in there and we're going to play for each other in this certain way. What happened? It was the last time I think we beat Man City, which was 2-0 at the Etihad. Giroud and Cazorla, I believe it was. Correct me if I'm mistaken. So in regards to his attitude, there are some things where I agree with Kazi, especially when it comes to favourites. Which let's face it, guys, every manager has those. We can't get rid of those. Every manager has favourites, and we've definitely seen that Arteta has been that way. So, and do I agree with it? No, I don't. You know, especially in the case of Saka. Yeah, don't let Saka tell you he wants to play. You tell him he's not playing. You're the manager. Yeah. So in those regards, I think he can be better. And if you see my last video on the watch along, those are things. I was actually quite annoyed after the game when he didn't sub Saka off. Yeah, I was quite annoyed with it because this bend but break mentality, you're going to snap the boy, and then when it hurts, Saka's going to be out for 3 to 6 months. It's going to be that kind of thing. But on top of it, that attitude has been able to change. You're talking about changing the culture of an entire city. Forget the players. He's changed the players, but the whole Arsenal environment. God, if you see the stadium, it is amazing.
Sorry for me to interject here. You know, the change of culture, the process, whatever you want to call it, it has to produce something intrinsic. As a general or as a standard fan or supporter, I want my club to win major honours, irrespective of the culture, because there's always going to be players who are going to, you know, do the wrong thing or, you know, be a favourite for the manager. But at the end of the day, the process has to produce major honours.
Yes, it does. It does.
4 years. 4 years, you know, the process, changing the culture, getting rid of, you know, the deadwood. Where are the major honours?
So the major honours, the major honours will not come, and culture will not come unless you set a foundation. And foundations are not set overnight. They're not. They're just not. Whether you're in sports, you're in business, you have to go in with a plan. And part of the plan, as I said, was to rid the deadwood. Change all of these things was in his 3-year plan, and he achieved every single one of them. To go in there and win the FA Cup with the team that he had, and he beat Chelsea, he beat Liverpool, he beat Man City, he beat all of these teams on the way there. It wasn't we beat Hull, we beat Wigan, we beat Derby County. No, he beat all of the big teams, and some of them he beat away from home. That's what he had to do to win that FA Cup in a system that wasn't conventional to his beliefs or philosophies. So, look, it's not perfect. And I agree. A lot of your concerns, a lot of Kazi's concerns, I absolutely 100% believe that we should be asking those questions. But let's not take away where this team was. Guys, we were at the lowest that I've ever known this team to ever be. Not in the days of George Graham or even before that were we this low. It was bad, guys. It was bad.
Cozy, I know you want to say something very quickly before I go to the other guys. Go for it, Cozy.
Yeah. That was good. That was very good, Apollo. I appreciate. But there are two things I want to say here, and I've done videos about the culture. I've done videos about me myself getting connected back to the team because I was really disconnected. But when you look at what he has done, and you look at what where Arsenal have been before Arsene Wenger's disintegration, Arsene Wenger has built us that stadium, and Arsene Wenger was known, and Arsenal was known for playing the best brand of football. Maybe apart from Barcelona, we could say maybe apart from Barcelona, but the rest of Europe, we were known. We played the best. Even the youngest of kids would tell you, "Well, you play, good football is at Arsenal," but we could concede 10 against Bayern. We could concede 10-0 against Bayern. So what I'm saying here, and what my concern about Mikel is, it's not that he doesn't have the balls to lead. He's already leading, but there are those decisions that managers that win do. There are those decisions, when you wake up in the morning and you tell Joao Cancelo, you've got to leave. You are our best player. You're literally our best winger. You're literally our best fullback. You're the best fullback in the world. But you've got to leave. I think that is all right, right? When you play Eddie Nketiah, and I think Mikel knows this, and he's trying to justify himself, and that will actually come back to bite Arsenal. When he tries so much to try to justify the inclusion and why Eddie has to stay and Balogun has to go, it's going to try so hard, and probably it will work out. But he tried so hard to make it, Kai work as well. I think. He's one of the managers that literally tell you, I want to go by merit. A player plays because of merit, right? Just like you've said with Saka. I think there was a time last season where Saka should have dropped. There's a time this season, I think, Eddie should drop, in my opinion, right? Probably come off the bench. And when he works hard and comes back, Emile Smith has not played for 499 days. It's not started again in 499 days, right? And I said it today in my preview. If Emile has not started in 499 days, and literally they should have the same slate as Eddie Nketiah, right? He was injured. When he came back, didn't really convince me as well, and I didn't actually shout, "Why isn't he playing?" Because I wasn't convinced. But in the last two games, right, I've been convinced. With the last two games, I think with Eddie, yes, maybe he might have won a penalty, but I'm not convinced, right? And the ruthless nature of managers that win, because you're not going to have this team for all the time. You're not going to have it forever, right? We are now doing good, but in the next 3 years, it will be on a decline like we see Liverpool. But what will we have in those 3 years? What will have in those 5 years? It's my concern.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, Alex, go on.
Yeah. No, go make it very short because I need to go to Vinci and Glenwyn.
Yeah, so it's very difficult because we all want to win, but the intangible with that is we're dealing with a team like Man City who, they have 115 crimes behind them to get their team into where they are, and everybody's in the same plot. It's almost like we're all playing for second place, and it's frustrating because then we start to lash out on all these frustrations that we have, but unfortunately, we are at the mercy of them. In the case of Eddie Nketiah and Smith Rowe, unfortunately, and I'm not allowed to disclose some of this information anyway, but unfortunately, there's a side to Arsenal Football Club that the fans never get to see. And things like sports psychology is one of them. So we don't know what happens. You hear about it afterwards in regards to Ramsdale, what happened with his miscarriage, what happened with other players, what happened with Granit Xhaka, Smith Rowe, his mental health. We hear about it after these events happen, but what you have to understand is the manager has to deal with that. That's part of his daily process. So when you see things like Smith Rowe not playing and all of that stuff, and Eddie Nketiah who is playing, a lot of that is predicated on the mental side of the game and what the manager sees in practice day by day. Now, Nketiah, especially in the last game, he didn't score. But if you look at the reviews that he's got, he had a really good game. He scored 2 goals this season, won 2 penalties for Arsenal. So he's been very productive on the press. He's been one of the best on the team. His link play, it wasn't very good against Spurs. I agree with that, but it was fantastic against Bournemouth. But he just doesn't get enough accolades. And you know, I've put the Balogun thing to bed. Balogun is in no way, shape, or form better than Eddie. He doesn't press like Eddie. He doesn't link play like Eddie. This was shown when he had his first year in France. He just isn't that kind of player. And he's growing as well. And I agree that Balogun may turn out to be a better talent than Eddie. He may well do. We don't know. It's early days. But for what Arsenal wanted and for the collateral in terms of what Balogun was worth, they had to cash in. I would have done the same thing. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave that. But yeah, I share a lot of your concerns, Cozzy. I really do.
Glenwyn. Follow that, Glenwyn.
Yeah, that's a high standard. That's a very, very high bar set. All I want to see it is I agree with both of y'all, and there's that word, Alex. That word is y'all. Because he made some very valid points, and what I want to see from a stubborn and arrogance point of view is that in the game, I know there's so many aspects that you can consider within the game, but there's so many aspects that we as fans see, and I've played the game, maybe not on the level that the club is playing, but I've played the game, and I myself have made mention to our coach and said, listen, why can't we do this and this and that? And I'm sure Mikel Arteta, Apollo mentioned it with Wenger, where he had called player meetings and do this and do that, and that's captain. And I'm sure the same for our captain. He does things what Arteta wants, but for a technical player that he is, I'm sure he burns to maybe change things in the type of play. And I think if Arteta allows those type of things to happen, the team will be free because the structure in itself is there, the process is there, so everything needs to come into play. Whereas we now need to, we struggled against Spurs. We now need to take the game by the scruff of the neck and change it within us as players. The manager has a profile of what you want to see, but with the technical ability of the players, they understand what he wants, has to change it. But his arrogance and his stubbornness doesn't allow that. And therefore, you can't see Martinelli free-flowing when he's free. When he does everything he does when he's free, he's a brilliant player. But with the limitations that has been put on him, you see sometimes he struggle a bit, and here and there, and he's still a brilliant player in those limitations. But he will be a phenomenal player when he's free to do whatever. If the manager says, Martinelli, today you just do what you think you should do within this parameter. You understand? Still limitations, but he's free. So there's so many things that we gotta consider from his point of view. And I myself is in a managerial position for a huge retail company in South Africa, and if I don't tweak things according to where the strongest points of my staff are, I will fail, because now I'm struggling to make budget, for argument's sake. So I need to achieve those budgets. I need to achieve those objectives. But if I don't listen to what my staff is saying, if I don't hear the heartbeat of the collective, then yes, I still am the manager. I still have to make the decisions, but I have to make a decision based on where we are going. So I need to be adaptable or teachable. I need to understand what my assistant is saying to me, and I need to understand what is my captain is saying to me. So with all that aspects, there is so much to grow into and there's so much to achieve, but you need to relax a bit on your own things that you've put in place. And I agree with you, Apollo. All those things is good and well. He's changed a lot of the dynamics in the club and in the family of Arsenal. He's changed quite a bit. But now it's time to release a bit of that stubbornness. And there's so many things to achieve if you if you are letting loose a bit, because your focus is there. It needs to be done. Because how many times do you think he listens to what his second in charge is saying? I don't know, because
Yeah.
you don't hear what they're saying. You don't see the after they've spoken, there's some changes coming. It's very seldom that you see those things. So does he listen really? I mean, he can hear what he says, but does he listen to what is being said? And that, for me, it is a bit of a concern. The team is doing well under Arteta, and I agree with Kosi saying there is maybe not a better young manager currently to replace him.
Yeah.
Because Spurs has tried Conte, Spurs has tried Mourinho, and all those type of things, and we've cried out to those type of managers. We've cried out to a Simeone. Would those guys be the people to take us further? I don't think so, but
Yeah.
Arteta needs to release a bit of that stubbornness and that arrogance.
Vincey, thank you for being patient, man.
Well, listen, I'm gonna try not to repeat what guys have said already. I think there's a lot of truth in what all three of you said, and Cozy, I think you've done a great segment there on your video. I think where we've got to really understand the situation with Arteta is Arteta. He grew up in the Barcelona style of football. He's bringing a style of Barcelona type of football that Arsene Wenger had us playing, but in a different dimension. But we've got to remember, Arteta has not played international football. He has not played international football. So let's be real about his tactical brain against the likes of a Klopp, against a Pep or Zidane. He may get there, but right here, right now, while we're on this stream, he's not there. And I'm going to be fair to Arteta, because we use his youth as, you know, it's a hindrance, but also it's a refreshing. Our club put us in this situation. Okay, so we talk about Apollo. You're talking about, okay, he's taken over the worst team. I've been supporting Arsenal when Terry Neal was at the club. I've been supporting Arsenal when George Graham was at the club, when Arsene Wenger was at the club. Great managers had some terrible teams. Okay, so I look and I think, okay, where was Arsenal at the time when he came into the club? Well, I put that on the club's shoulders. The club has decided to go in this direction. So if you stop and you think 4 years down the line, I can understand the frustration based on where the club was with a historic manager in Arsene Wenger. I don't think any of us would be in this situation if Pep Guardiola came to Arsenal instead of Manchester City. But let's be real. Arsenal had to, George Graham had to overcome a rampant Liverpool, winning European Cups. He did it. Arsene Wenger had to overhaul Manchester United. He did it. We're now in a phase where the rampant club is Manchester City. So last season we had a taste, and all of our mouths now are salivating on the next level as to say, you know what, can we actually get over the line? Because he's done that with young players, which I've been screaming for. But the problem we have is that Arteta's tactics, does that yield to get the best out of the young squad moving forward based on the style of football he wants to play? And, you know, I think this season's going to be, if anything, I'm more surprised at where we are right now this season in comparison to the players he's brought in, because I'm still waiting for a midfield of Partey and Rice playing in that. I don't want the Partey going into the right back. I don't want to be seeing that. I want to be seeing Rice and Partey in the midfield and seeing how that dynamic, that formation works against a Man City with Rodri or not, or with De Bruyne. Hopefully that will come, because I think that's the next evolution of where this team is going to be. But I do think that all of those managers that I mentioned, Graham, Wenger, Neil, they're all stubborn. So Arteta's going to be stubborn. But he's got to. I think he's got to be recognized where he needs to be flexible, and be flexible. I loved what he did when he first came in, and he was tactically, he broke down those teams en route to us winning that FA Cup. I love that.
Yeah.
What happened the year after and so forth, I didn't like, because I'm looking and thinking, you're building your club moving forward. He gives Aubameyang the contract, and I would never have done that if you're rebuilding. And it's shown for me personally. I think we're a striker 2 years down the line, trying 2 or 3 down, trying to replace what that decision he made by giving Aubameyang that contract. And others will say, you know what, if Aubameyang wasn't given that contract, you'd want something else. But guess what we did? Aubameyang scored those goals, and we ripped up his contract in effect. So if he was prepared to do it when there's issues in the club, if you want to come in and rebuild your team, who knows who we could have got at that stage. But to his credit right now, he's got a hard task, because our club have put us in this situation. Our club doesn't allow us to have a good enough youth system where players like a Balogun can flourish and know that actually they've got a future. These guys are coming up, and you know what? They want games now.
Yeah.
And Arteta can't do it. Arsenal Football Club will put us in that situation. I don't think Arteta has. But saying that, it's a case of how he rebuilds, how he recruits, how he changes the tactics to allow those players, those fringe players, to get game time and take tournaments serious, like the League Cup. Not just put all our eggs into the Premiership and the Champions League. The League Cup is very important for those fringe players for the future of Arsenal Football Club.
Well said. I thought the video, because you did there, for me, was hit all the points. I know I probably would disagree, and I didn't want to literally, just shine a light on you, Cozzy, but Cozzy is not Arteta out. For those of you watching now, he's not Arteta out. It's just an opinion, well measured. I thought, well thought out. I thought, oh my goodness, I've got to talk about this. We've got to go on to our second segment. The first segment, Apollo, we won. We won, brother. Whoa.
Yeah, we won, but there's still a few concerns there for me. There's still a few concerns.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still. Do you want me to go first on this one, Alex?
Yeah, go for it, man. Yeah.
So the first thing, let's get some good news and bad news. First thing is, why didn't we take off Saka after 60 minutes? I mean, we were 3-0 up.
Thank you.
Everybody was screaming for him to come off. We've got nothing to prove. You've got half an hour left in the game. You've got a game on Tuesday against Lens, and then you've got Man City next week. No excuses and he just left him on there, and that just wounded me up. And what happens? He takes a knock. That's on the manager. I was really upset about that. The second thing that I've got, so I'll give you 2 negatives and 2 positives. So the second negative I've got is, in our last 6 goals, we've scored 1 from outfield. That's a real concern. We had, against Spurs, we had an own goal, and then we had a penalty. Against Bournemouth, we had 2 penalties, and then we had a header from a corner from the Ben White. So it's just like, where's the outfield goal? So that for me is a big concern. It papers over the cracks, the score lines, but for me, the positives, Carl Havertz again, loved what he did. High press, first team leader in kilometers run, most tackles he had, most recoveries yet again, and this time he did it when Declan Rice is there, who leads the league in recoveries, Declan Rice. But he linked well with others, had the early chance, played the 1-2 with Jesus, had a shot which was actually going in, and the defender makes a really key block there and puts it out for a corner. It just looks like he's playing with a lot of confidence. He's more decisive in the midfield, and I really, really do like it. And again, another key to that was he was only one of 2 Arsenal players that day that didn't give the ball away. So, you know, which has actually, considering he gave the goal away the other day, he actually excels really well in that in the Premier League when I went and looked at the history of the statistics.
Well, hold on, you got your stats, don't you?
That's me. Again, listen, I follow American sports. So, unfortunately, that's how they follow metrics. Yeah, they talk factual in terms of metrics. The other thing as well is what was good about that game is David Raya, man. Whew. David Raya, he looks like he's our number one. He's key in the build-up play, facing the press. He broke the press 4 times when they brought 4 players and just completely wiped out 5 of their midfielders. One ball over to Zinchenko, bang. And I was like, whoa, where did that come from? But I used to see Ramsdale do this sometimes. But this guy's doing it every game, multiple times a game. It's going to be interesting to see how he deals with the pressure with Man City. I'm looking forward to that. But that's all from me. Overall, really happy with the result.
Nice one, Apollo. Glenwyn, we won, man.
Clean sheet. No, we did. Clean sheet. I said we need to have a clean sheet, especially when we go away and also mostly at home. But we need to get our tally up. We need to get our goals for up, because at the end of the day that's going to bring us obviously that confidence. Pardon me, for going forward and obviously going defending. But our defense, it seems very unstable at times. A Bournemouth team that could have done so many things if they were prolific. There was still a bit of miscommunications. Saliba is just a solid guy. I mean, if he can stay alone at the back, he'll do so much. But I still think Ben White has a couple of mistakes in him, and Gabriel was good as well. But there's still that decision making of our defense is slightly a bit not on par. So there's a lot of things that we can still do in defense, and I think we should concentrate on those things, and especially when it comes to a City team. City lost against a beautiful Wolves, but they're gonna come out and they don't want to lose again, because not one, it's Arsenal, and 2, they don't want to lose points on the board, because now they've seen that they are very vulnerable in those things. So Arsenal has looked good in going forward, but coming back, there's still a couple of things that need to work on, and hopefully, having seen Partey in training for that game, we can maybe have him in the middle, like Vinci said, in the middle with Rice, to obviously give us that dynamic where we could play as either double pivot or maybe an 8 or whatever, and keep our defense more but stable in there. So well done to the team, and I hope that we can go on from here, go on a run of 10 plus games and don't get any defeats.
I have to agree with Glenwyn there. He mentioned something that was key, Alex, and that was the fact that City need to win next week, because if Arsenal beat them, I can tell you this now, the fear with other teams is that Arsenal is going to start to run away into the sunset. Look, Arsenal right now, guys, are the only unbeaten team in all competitions. They're not lost in the Champions League and the Carling Cup. Every other team has lost. And Arsenal, and not just have they not lost, but they're starting to get their injured players back. They're starting, Partey, Martinelli's coming back. And then in the new year, Yuri and Timber's coming back. So for Man City, this is a concern. They really need to beat Arsenal over the weekend.
Because very quickly, do you have any news on Saka, Bukayo Saka, his injury? You did a video, didn't you?
He's fit. He's fit.
Yes. Right. Saka was in training. Saka is all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we won, Cozzy. Clean sheet. Kai Havertz scored. And he's frozen. Cozzy, speak to me, man. Speak to me. You got all quiet, man.
Cozzy's got that African internet, man. Lord.
You're becoming Ian Wright, though. You're becoming Ian Wright, and I love that. You're becoming Ian Wright.
Talk to me. Kai Havertz scored at least.
Yeah, but yeah, guys, we won. Yeah, we won. We needed to bounce back, and I said in my preview that Arsenal don't win this game. Bournemouth don't win a game the whole season. I've not yet won a game the whole season, and it's not about them being poor. It's just about them not finding that right rhythm under Andoni Iraola. It could have been embarrassing if Arsenal didn't win that game. I love the numbers, 4 goals, Kai involved. However, there is a point, guys, I want to talk about, because you've talked about much of it. I think our away record feels like it should be our home record. I don't know whether you guys are concerned about this, but Mikel talked about it slightly in his press conference, and I was like, okay, you're noticing it. He, said we need to convert what we are doing away from home to the Emirates Stadium to become our home record, because surprisingly, Sporting came to the Emirates and they dumped us out of the Europa League. Brighton humiliated us at the Emirates after us going away at the sea and winning and scoring was it 4 or 5? Then Southampton, the worst team in the Premier League last campaign, got a point at the Emirates Stadium. Brentford, of course, they were not that bad, but they got a point. And Newcastle, we beat them away. And we actually, so it looks like we're doing very well away, and we are not doing very well at the Emirates Stadium. It's a point of concern because your home should be a fortress. I was listening to the commentary last time, and Man City have gone like how many months without losing at home? It's a fortress, and the Emirates should be a fortress. But if we can turn it into, if we can get our home record straight as well. Otherwise, it's embarrassing to go, well, Arsenal didn't win the league because of their home record, because of what they're doing at home. Fulham should not come to the Emirates Stadium and pick up a point, or even 3. They should not. They should not score 2. And most importantly, Fulham should not pick up a point and then concede 5 against Man City the next weekend. That shows the difference, right? So, good game. And Man City now is coming at the Emirates Stadium. Let's try to balance, right? Not consider the goal away this campaign. I think 4 games. Can we try to do that at home? I think that's the only lesson I got. And maybe the Saka incident. He just talks about what I've been talking about Mikel Arteta. Like he will keep him on, right? And he will keep on a player who's not doing well. He will take off. Last season we saw it. He took off Odegaard so many times, and Odegaard was the guy doing well. And he doesn't bring on, he doesn't take off Saka in that game. And I'm like, what are you doing? You need this guy. You know he's your most reliable player. You've got to take him off. But yeah, good performance. Can we build from that? I think we can.
Brilliant. Vinci.
Well, listen, anytime we score 4 goals, I'm happy. Even if it's 2 goals being a penalty, the main fact is, there was times in the game where, some of the passes, I was looking and thinking, look at that chance that Smith Rowe put wide. Beautiful play. And it's the case, you know what I mean? It's two opportunities. And this is, I'll go back to what I've said in previous games. It's, you make quality chances, you've got to put them away. Now, we scored 4, and we kind of not over the moon with how we played, but we scored 4. Next week, we're playing a team where, you know what, they're going to limit our chances, and we got to take our chances. At home, where we previously said we're not as clinical as we are away from home. But one thing I would say is, based on that 4-0 win, it shows a lot of testament to our character of the players, where we are playing better away from home, which we can actually win the league by playing better away from home if we just shore up at our home matches against those like a City or against Liverpool. So looking forward to it. But yeah, I'm happy with the 4-0.
Vincent, very quickly. So Kai Havertz was given the penalty to score. How are we feeling about him?
I actually called it before the game. I said, you know what? His first goal, it could be great, even if it's a penalty, or it could be a wonder goal. I think it's great that the Odegaard or Saka allowed him to take it, or the team got together and said, you know what, they're giving it to him.
Odegaard.
Because it's all about confidence.
Yeah.
And he has been playing. He's, in Europe, his touches and his movement, even in the Carabao Cup, you can see there is a player there in front of goal, he just hasn't had fortune. He's made some bad decisions, and he's had some poor passing from some of our players to not give him better scoring opportunities. So scoring a penalty and the way he scored that penalty is going to give him a good confidence. You know what? He can go and score 2 against Man City, and we'll be coming on the stream and say, listen, Arteta, a great signing. But he's got that ability. I've always said, if it's 10 to 15 goals, if he's had chances, he can score goals. So we're very happy he got off the. He got his first goal.
He was very nervous as you could see him standing there. He was very nervous.
Yeah.
It's huge. You can see the pressure that. I mean, fans don't lie. You know, we all have different opinions of the team, and our frustration is he's an attacking player. He costs a lot of money. He's missed chances. He's not scoring. So for him to score a goal by any means necessary, I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right, let me go into the live chat for the first time on this latest Back Five podcast. We've got Emerson. This is a good evening, guys. Good evening, Emerson. I hope you're well. And we've got the legend, Glenn, who didn't make it. Unfortunately, some problems, technical problems. Says, hello, legends. Iconoclast 1 says, evening, gentlemen, and the chat room. We've got Gary, DWTT, says, hello, Back Five podcast, panel, and chat room. Come, you gunners. See if there's any questions here. A promise is a comfort to a fool. Oh, my goodness. The fans have been made promising trophies ever since they moved to the Emirates, and they're still waiting, Apollo. He's not saying anything.
Apollo's going to unmute purposely. He put himself on mute.
But there's FA Cups there.
Yeah, well.
Charity Shield, man. It's a trophy, guys.
Yeah.
Charity Shield, the trophy, fam.
Look in the FA's honours list, guys. It's all there.
How much have Arsenal spent since they got to the Emirates? Now work out how many trophies have been won since they moved.
Guys, there are 19 other teams in the league trying to win trophies. We unfortunately, as much as I would love Santa to give them to us every year, they don't come that easily, man. There's a lot that goes into winning a trophy, guys.
Apollo, let's be real. You can't put Tottenham in that 19 to.
Yeah, I agree. So there's 18 other teams, guys. There's 18 other teams. Excellent bits there. I love it.
Cam says, what's with Eddie slander? He was great. So stop treating him like that. Reece Nelson is an impact player. He's better off the bench. In all honesty, Eddie makes our system work.
That's the problem. That's the problem there.
Go, Cozy. Go. What's the problem?
That's the problem. You know, how is Reece Nelson just an impact player? And you know, he was groomed right from the academy. A lot of time was invested in him to be an impact player. Like he had a very successful loan spell last campaign, and I don't think those guys were looking at him as just an impact player. And I don't have a problem with Eddie, by the way. I really do not, right? My problem is where we are going and the standards that have to be made, right? I'll say the words of Erik ten Hag, because he's one of the guys that really just, backfires a lot. He says, when you're playing for a club like Man United and Arsenal, a club of that magnitude, there are standards, right? And, Apollo's put it right. Probably there are reasons why some players keep on playing. Ramsdale lost a child, and, the manager had to step in and all that, right? But the standards. And if you compare Eddie Nketiah, if you compare Eddie, and probably even if I compared him to Danny Welbeck at the moment, many people always tell me, well, he's good at pressing, he's good at running the channels. Even if I compared him to Danny Welbeck at Brighton right now, the comparison, I mean, Brighton would not take him over Danny Welbeck. I'll tell you, it's a fact. Brighton.
They have inquired about him 3 times, and which Arsenal negated every single one of them. 7 teams in the Premier League.
Obviously, right? they will ask because he's the profile, and they want to add to their players. But does he do more than the revamped Danny Welbeck at the moment? Not in terms of scoring goals, because both of them don't score as much, but in terms of doing the other extra activities off the ball. I just don't think so. So I don't have a problem with Eddie. And again, a lot of people on my channel think I have a problem with Eddie. I just don't have a problem with Eddie, and I say it all the time. I just want to see him, lift himself like Odegaard did, because we all questioned Odegaard. We wanted James Maddison, and Odegaard came and propelled himself to levels that we should say were unimaginable. And none of us goes, look, if you have to defend a player, if you have to say so much about a player to defend him, then there is a problem, right? Why don't we defend Saliba so much? Why don't we defend, even if it's a combined 11 against City or against Tottenham or Man United, or the rival fans will easily go, I'll give you Saliba, but I want Lisandro Martinez in. It's because these players are playing at a different level. Can Eddie reach those levels? Well, personally, I don't think so. It's the same thing with Emil Smith-Rowe. Sorry, with Reece Nelson. Unless they prove me wrong at the moment, I think, with Julian Alvarez, Erling Haaland on the other side, it's going to be very hard to convince me.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to convince you. Because I see your points, but as I said, the manager sees everything he needs to see in these players, and in his eyes and respective conclusions is that Eddie's doing everything he wants him to do. In regards to what he's come out and said about Eddie, the last thing he said was, Eddie, I only have to tell him how to do something once on the training field, and he does it, and I never have to repeat myself. That, for a manager to say that, that's good. Yeah. The second thing is, people are talking about they want him to score more goals. Now, his goal metrics per 90 minutes is actually very, very good. It's higher than Jesus. We know that in the last 17 starts in the Emirates, he's scored 14 goals. In the last 17 starts. He doesn't score a lot of goals away from home, though. I did mention this in the preview in the last game. But in terms of, we went through a whole season where Lacazette and Aubameyang, two guys who cost 60 million, couldn't hit a barn door, couldn't score a lick. Lacazette had 2 outfield goals for the whole season. Eddie came in the last 8 games, scored 5 goals, kept us in the top 4 change. Last season, Jesus had 10 games without a goal. 10 games! And Eddie came in, got 4 goals in 9 games before Jesus came back. We were 5 points ahead in the league before Jesus got injured. 3.5 months later, when Jesus came back, we had a 5-point lead. So we didn't lose anything. So I think a lot has been said about Eddie. As you know, I'm a big Eddie fan. I'll always defend him because I think he's doing the right things. It's not just about goals in the system. We know the way how the system is with Jesus, Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka. We have a system that doesn't depend on the big man, do we? We have a system like Liverpool's where the goals are coming from everywhere. So I would like Eddie to score more goals. Of course I would, because that's his forte. But then to see his link play, his work rate, his defensive pressure and everything, that's what the manager wants to do. That's the minimum expectations for a manager. And so when we talk about Ivan Toney, or we talk about Balogun, or we talk about all these other players, they have to submit the required minimum in order to fit into this system. And then the goals is just something that comes because of your activity and you being a striker. But yeah, I agree with that, Cozzy. I want to see more goals too. I do agree. I'm with you on that one.
Vinci, you want to say something? That's what you think, hand up.
I've got a problem with Eddie. My problem with Eddie is that Eddie's a goal scorer. Okay, it's all well and good saying that you only need to tell Eddie one thing on the pitch, and he goes and does it. Well, maybe what you're asking him to do is the problem, because he's a striker, and you want your strikers to score goals. His work rate and all those things, but we need our strikers to score goals. So I'm asking myself, at what point does our football suit Eddie's game? A, maybe Apollo can answer that. And B, at what point can you envisage Eddie scoring a hat-trick with him being a striker, because he's got the capabilities, but why is he not having enough chances to score a hat-trick within a team that, quote unquote, creates the most chances that Arsenal have created, or in the Premiership? You know, we're prolific in creating chances, but why isn't Eddie in the position to score 3 goals per game, or score multiple goals as a striker? Because that is his role. I don't know if that's something you can respond about that, Apollo, because I think I've got an issue with the system that we play and some of the personnel that we play in it.
So I think you just answered your question there. It's the system.
Okay.
A striker's role in this system, yes, scoring goals, but it's more than that. And it attributes between the changes that Martinelli had to make in his game as well. When Martinelli scored 10 goals when he first came on the scene as a 19-year-old, the second year was full of injury and everything. Like, only scored 2 goals. But then when he came back on the scene, the manager was the first one that stated, it's the other stuff. It's the pressing. It's the backtracking. It's the off-the-ball stuff. That's what he's starting to do. Now he's a complete player. But people won't really, I know you do, but the average person just talks about, oh, Martinelli scored 15 goals last season. They won't talk about all the underlying stuff that he does, all the metric stuff, which is what the manager needs in the system. Again, it's the minimum expectation. It's what he needs. So it's not just about, this is the reason why Balogun's not here. It's not just about scoring goals. If I'm not going to get a guy who's going to have combination play, work triangles, press accordingly, all these things are worked out in training, 5 days in a week in practices. If you're not going to adhere to that foundation, you're no good to my team, no matter what you do. So there's a lot of metrics that goes into it, and Eddie's one that does that. Reece Nelson last week talked about all of the practice and changes he's made, and he attributes the same things. Declan Rice has said many times, wow, the training and the system here is more than what I thought it was. It doesn't have a knock on David Moyes. It just says how tough and how difficult and how hard our system is.
Cosby, go, because we're limited on time.
Yeah.
Go on,
I agree with you, Apollo. I really do, because systems are made of positions, and you've got to find the right profile. But there is one thing I just wanted to tell you, and is this: there's a reason why managers get sacked. Like, a manager literally has 22 players or 30 players, and there's a reason as to why a manager fields 11 players and they consistently fail to perform, and imagine a manager is sacked, right? So in my opinion, I think if Eddie really feels the requirements of the system, and that is the system, those requirements satisfy the system that we're playing, that system is taking us nowhere. Like, to be honest,
okay,
if there is a system, if there is a system that allows Mo Salah to score 30-40 in a campaign, allows Erling Haaland to score 50, and we're comfortable with a striker that came in because he scored 5 in 8 or 5 in and that justifies his starting. We are not going, because we've got to understand the requirements now are being better than Man City. Those are the requirements. It doesn't matter whether they've spent a lot of money. It doesn't matter if they've spent 100 billion. The minimum requirement is to be better than City. Are we better than City? No. So that is what we should be working on. So I don't think Eddie is, whether he's up to the task according to the manager, on field he's not. As simple as that.
And you know what? You might be right, Cozzy. But
we'll make it very short, because we do have to go.
I will do. You might be right, Cozzy. But the question for now really is, who out there is at that level? And so let's take the only reason why Eddie is really playing is because Martinelli is injured. So our main striker is Jesus, and we're not having this conversation right now, but he's missed more chances than any Arsenal player this year. He should have put that Spurs game to bed. So we're here talking about Eddie, and Eddie is actually the reserve striker. So I think in that way, you can understand where I'm coming from. It's like the conversation really is, and this is for every team in the league, strikers are at a premium, man. I mean, there's not a lot of great ones out there at the moment. which is why
Yes,
we're
they
talking
are.
about
They are.
Arsenal.
They are, but that is to the scouting. If Man City have brought in Julian Alvarez is not a 50 million striker. He's how much did he cost? I don't know. Like pennies, absolute pennies. But I tell you, Julian Alvarez is you've got to admire. So that is the scouting. They've got to go out there and find guys. Because if they have Julian Alvarez, if Julian Alvarez wins them the 4th title consecutive in the Premier League, what will we say? We've spent $500 million already. Like we can no longer use it as a defense.
Yeah, this is why I think Ivan Toney is I think fans are hyping him up to fail, because I don't rate him as a goal scorer. He scores the same amount of goals as Jesus and Nketiah. And fans are not looking at that. They're just looking at the fact he scored, the goals he scored for Brentford, not the fact he's taken 27 penalties. If you take the penalties away, he's got exactly the same amount of goals as Jesus and played 9 games more. He played 33 games last year, scored 11 goals. Jesus scored 11 goals and played 24 games because he was out for 3.5 months. I think people, they love the big spend, don't they? Arsenal fans love the big money. Let's splash the cash. But I don't think that fans are looking at Ivan Toney in terms of, is he the answer as a natural goal scorer for Arsenal? I don't think he is.
Guys, we have come to an end. We didn't even get to speak about the final segment, which was supposed to be about Champions League football. I did say it has to be an hour show. What an interesting segment. Cozy, man, bro. Love you, man. I mean, just bring it, boy. Yeah,
I love Cozy, man. Cozy, I love you like cooked food.
This is fun. This is nice. This is fun, man.
Vincey, have you arrived?
One more last time. I'm not Mikel Arteta out. I'm not.
Yeah. People get it twisted, Vincey, have you arrived at your destination, brother?
I'm nearly there, man. Nearly there, man. It's raining. The weather's bad out here, so wife's been very diligent on the road. So I will get there, man. But it's been a blessing being on the show. Thank you, guys.
I love Vincey, man. Vincey's my brother, man.
Glenwyn, man, nice, man. You brought a South African flavor to the show, man.
Yeah, no, you got it, man. It's just it's like a scrambled egg. You know what I mean? It's a whole lot of different sizes and pieces of the egg. So yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, nice one. And Apollo, man.
Mad.
Apollo, my brother, man. You know we've only met once, isn't it, Apollo?
I know. The thing is, we're gonna. I know that other guys are in South Africa and Nigeria and other countries and Kenya, but it would be nice to meet up, man. I do that with my lot. Sometimes we meet up at a restaurant and we just slash. Last time we met up at Wagamama, didn't we, Vincey?
Yes. Always good vibes, man.
Always, man.
Yeah.
Always.
And that's it, people. You will see me again tomorrow evening, giving some more live news in regards to Arsenal. We're talking about Arsenal. and let's hope we can beat Lens in the Lens in the Champions League. But we get to talk about that anyway, guys. So, guys, again, thank you, Cozy, for giving us your time. Power, man, all power. Vincey, brother.
Yes, man, always man.
Nice one.
Yeah, guys, I'll have a preview for the Lens game after this. I'll work on it. I'll probably take me till midnight to finish. But yeah, I haven't even had my dinner yet, Alex. As soon as
man. You know what? Because you're in the cave. You're in the back cave. That's why, isn't it?
The door's locked there.
Yeah, I locked my door so all my family in the front room, they can't get in there.
All right, people. So that's it. Again, I will see you tomorrow evening. Give me some more live news. But this has been a fiery back four. There was no Glenn. Guys, thank you very much. Until then, see you tomorrow. And this has been the Back Five podcast on Canon 4 TV with 101, Guna Matters, Cozy, Brother Vincey. Until then, take care, guys. See you later.
Nice one, guys.
See you later.
Wicked.